Salaat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We'd like to start the program with the recitation of Qur'an.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت يؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع العليم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
Thank you very much. We are now going to continue our program by Seyed Fatemi, who will be continuing his series on the ways of salvation on Iḥyāʻ ʿulūm. Let's welcome in Salaat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أيوة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. We start with our hadith. The hadith from Imam Hussein alayhi salam tonight, very short, interesting hadith. لا يكمل العقل إلا باتباع الحق. لا يكمل العقل إلا باتباع الحق. عن الحسين عليه السلام, as has been attributed to Imam Hussein, that human intellect, human reason, would not be complete save by following the truth. So following the truth is a tool, is the instrument for completing the intellect. لا يكمل العقل إلا باتباع الحق. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. Okay, we were on Al-Ghazali Iḥyāʻ ʿulūm. Just to catch up quickly, we said the book is in 4 sections, 4 quarters. First is on act of worship. The second on mainly etiquette, societal etiquette. Third is muhlikat and the what's called the things that the thing that is that they are leading to our destruction. But the fourth, which was our discussion, is on munjiyat, the ways and tools and instrument of salvation. This fourth, there are 10 books. There are 10 books. The first book is Kitab al-Tawbah. The second book of this volume 4 is Kitab al-Sabr wa Shukr, the patience and thankfulness. The third book, Al-Khawf wa Raja, on fear and hope. Book number 4, Al-Faqr wa Zuhd, on poverty and abstinence. Number 5, At-Tawheed wa Tawakkul, faith in divine unity and trust in divine providence, tawakkul. The other book, Ash-Shawq wal-Uns wal-Rida, on love, satisfaction. Other book, An-Niyya wal-Ikhlas wal-Sidq, intention, place of intention in virtue ethics, sincerity and truth. Al-Muraqaba wal-Muhasaba. The other book is holding vigil and self-examination, self-questioning. Al-Fikr, deliberation or meditation. The last one, Dhikrul Maut wa Ba'duhu, the remembrance of death and afterlife. These are the 10 books. Obviously, we are not able to finish even one book, which is Kitab al-Tawbah. I was consulting with some of the friends, said, let's have another one. But I thought it would not be fair to Al-Ghazali and it would not be fair to us not to, treat at least Tawbah section properly, because we started the Tawbah last night, so let's see if at least we can do some more on Tawbah. The next discussion in as Al-Ghazali, as has been revised by Shia scholar Fayd al-Kashani, wujubuhu fawriyun. The first of all, the Tawbah is an obligation, is a mandatory obligation. It's a must. It's a must. Repentance is a must. And it's immediate must. People who did some of these Islamic studies, they know when we are talking wajib al-fawri, there are certain obligations that must be performed as soon as possible, immediately, as soon as possible. For example, if someone says salam to you, you have to reply immediately. Not in half an hour when you are free, say, okay, wa alaikum assalam. You lose the time for reply. Or if the mosque becomes najis, you have the immediate obligation to purify the mosque. Certain obligations in Islam, they call wajibat fawriya or wajib fawri, immediate wajib. You have to perform it as soon as you can. Tawbah is such an obligation, is obligatory. One of the wajibat of Islam, I'm repeating, the same as prayer is wajib, fasting is wajib. One wajib act, I don't know how many of us does it once a day at least, I don't know. But just to remind you, then the Prophet, we will see Rasulullah, he was doing it 70 times a week, a day and night, 70 times he was doing astaghfirullah. Okay, so it is wajib fawri, immediate wajib. So at least when you are sitting here, think of some of the wrong thing and in your heart say astaghfirullah, at least perform one wajib now. Now it is fawri. Do it now in your heart. So it is wajib fawri. The other things, it's wajib upon all. It's not like me, oh, I'm innocent, what should I do any tawbah? It's all, according to Qur'an, everyone is obliged. And interestingly, according to Ghazali, even messengers of God are included. under this obligation, let alone us. What is his argument? He's got a rational argument and he's got textual argument. Why repentance is general obligation of all, immediate general obligation of everyone. Start with the textual argument. Textual argument, verse number 31 of Surah An-Nur. وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. You all believers, with no exception, not the sinners, all believers, أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, you all do tawbah to Allah, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So inshallah you'll be saved and you are in the way of salvation. So, according to Ghazali and Fayd al-Kashani and all scholars, this is a very clear, decisive verse. Order, tubu, it's the divine command, and it's telling jami'an, it makes it to all. So he's adding an emphatic, qualification. Tubu is plural, clear enough, but he added jami'an, all of you. You do tawbah, all of you, all believers. So he's not talking to kuffar. He's not talking to unbelievers. He's not talking to, atheists. You believers, including one of the mu'mineen is Rasulullah himself. Okay, according, of course, to Ghazali, and we have this discussion here. What does the istighfar of Rasulullah mean? How it works? And what's the difference if a messenger of God does the istighfar or one like us? This is the textual. Qur'an, clear enough for wujub of tawbah. The rational argument, he said we are human. We are by our very nature, لا يخلو عن معصية بجوارحه. We are human, so we are not infallible. We are human. Sometimes the heart, sometimes the mind, sometimes the tongue, sometimes the hand. We don't know. And sometimes unintentionally we do something. You say something harming someone without wanting to harm her or him. So, due to our very human nature, we are open to mistake. So therefore we need to practice this tawbah immediately. So because we are human, he said, فَلَا يَخْلُ عَنْ غَفْلَةٍ وَقُصُورٍ. We have our own fault, our own shortcomings. Okay? And now he wants to say even the messengers of God. In order to say it, he is referring to one of the famous ahadith narrated in the both Sahihain. So it's very authentic hadith. According to this hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ said, إنه ليغان على قلبي حتى أستغفر الله في اليوم والليلة 70 مرة. Indeed, sometimes my heart is affected or covered with something. So I ask forgiveness from God 70 times a day and in a night. 70 times in a day and a night. Astaghfirullah. I ask for, this is Rasulullah. And then he concluded, because of such a delicacy and such a careful, let me say, muraqabah, such a careful meditation and deliberation by Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. God forgiven all of whatever mistake you did have. Then the shocking statement of Al-Ghazali comes. This is about Rasulullah. وَإِذَا كَانَ هَذَا حَالُهُ فَكَيْفَ حَالُ غَيْرِهِ. If this is Rasulullah, so what about else? What about others? If the messenger of God, who all creation is around him, he said, I am asking God's forgiveness 70 times in a day and a night, then فَكَيْفَ حَالُ غَيْرِهِ, how about others? One of the places, as I said, if you remember, I said the Iḥyāʻ ʿulūm, Iḥyāʻ ʿulūm of Ghazali, been revised and edited and rewritten by Fayd al-Kashani, the famous Shia philosopher and jurist and muhaddith. So whenever he finds, okay, I have to say something according to our theology, this is one of the places that he has his comments. I have to clarify what does it mean when it comes to the messenger of God. He said, look, the sin and the fault of the messenger is not like us. ليس كذنوبنا, it's not like our sin. بل إنما هو ترك دوام الذكر والاشتغال بالمباحات. He said, even when they miss for a second the full remembrance of God, for them that's a big thing. Or when they are doing something permissible, so they are not in a state of remembrance, so their istighfar is not for a sin, rather is for missing the dhikr in a second or in a movement. Then he mentioned a hadith, but tonight I want to make a bit more of the discussion. So what we have done, it is wajib fawri, immediate obligation of all with no exception. And don't think if I have committed sin only I have to do tawbah. So please remember, at least we should do it 3 times. When we wake up the morning, one at midday, when we want to go to bed, say to yourself, I don't remember, or I remember, I might did something, so I do tawbah for whatever I did, whether I remember it or I don't remember it. So at least we have to do it 3 times. This is the minimum. Then he moves to different type of sins, and which one we need to do tawbah, all of them or some of them. Here there is a famous classification between different sins. Generally speaking, we have 2 types of obligations, 2 types of duties. We have duties toward God. They call it حقوق the rights of God. And there are certain things we are in interaction with other people, حقوق الناس. So sometimes your fault, your sin, is to miss something which is purely حق الله, purely between you and God. Like you miss the prayer, example. You miss the fasting. You miss, there are many things that you do not commit any wrong to others, but it's just your own personal obligation toward God. This is haqqullah. But sometimes no, you do something that is more than haqqullah, is the right of people. Then, if this is the case, the tawbah of these 2 are different. Haqqullah is between you and God. So you don't need to tell anyone. In fact, you must not tell anyone. Unlike Christianity, we don't have confession. You don't have to confess to anyone. You just ask God's forgiveness. But when it comes to haqqun nas, when it comes to your relationship with others, you did wrong to others, you did ghaiba, you have someone's money, you, I don't know, harm someone in a different way, morally, mentally, financially, family-wise, plenty of them. Publishing letter or whatever, you will not be forgiven unless they forgive you. That is the basic thing. So you need to go to them and ask for their forgiveness. Otherwise, the price is very hard. It doesn't mean God does not forgive you. We don't have such a thing in Islam, that no forgiveness unless these people forgive you. Ultimately, the price is very high. The cheaper way is where you go to them, sorry, I did something, and now I'm asking your forgiveness. That is the cheapest and easiest way. But if you don't do that, then the price is much, much, much higher. Now we are moving to a very interesting discussion within our theology. Again, sins are classified. That was one classification. Haqqullah, Haqqun Nas, the right of God, right of people, right of God. Tawbah, istighfar is sufficient. Right of people, you need to take their, consent and make them happy, then go for istighfar. But the other classification, we have major and minor sins. Okay? Al-Kaba'ir was-Sagha'ir. What is Kabira? What is Saghira? First of all, some people, first of all, started to doubt, do we have really this classification? Because sin is sin anyway. Sin means disobedience of God. Sin means you do something wrong in presence of God. So why you think if it is minor? It is major, but the act in any way should be considered as a major. But we have in Qur'an couple of verses indicating that some of these sins are major. One is in Surah Nisa, verse number 31, إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما. If you avoid the major sins, kabair plural for kabira, if you avoid the major, then the rest we can take care of it and forgive you. And so you have to be very careful about the major ones. It's like when in driving, when you go for driving license, I remember the major one is important. The minor you have up to 40, I think. I don't know how many numbers you can miss. But the major one is enough to, make you, to fail you. Then another verse, Najm 32, الَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ, those who are avoiding the major ones. So what are the majors? Here you have different theories, and the hadith also are different. But what I'm a bit convinced, and shared by both Shia and Sunni in different way, it seems at least 7 of them are major. And we have a authentic hadith from Rasulullah, which is similar for Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما رواه عبد الله ibn Umar. This is narrated in Sunni Hadith book and narrated by Ghazali in his Iḥyāʻ al-ʿulūm. Al-Kabā'ir, number 1, al-Ishrāk billah, al-Shirk billah, يعني shirk, considering associating partner with God. This is the biggest. That is at top. Shirk in Islam is the top sin. Then you have عقوق الوالدين. Your parents are displeased with you to the point that they go, it's just on the shoulder of, they don't forgive you. Okay? So, disobedience of the parents to the point that you make them very unpleased, that they said, especially if they use the word in Asian community, we have sometimes when they are very angry, I've seen, say, go, I did arc of you. You no longer under my mercy. It's like God saying, you are no longer under my mercy. And imagine what someone could do to her or his father or mom to say, go, you are not under my mercy anymore. As you are out of, to the point of hate. This is also is a major sin. Qatlun nafs, murder, also is a major sin. And the other one, false oath. That is also is a big one. This is the hadith of in Sunni literature. In Shia, we have the hadith, again, very authentic from Ibn Mahbub. He said, what are the number of major sins? Before listing them, the Imam gave a yardstick. Whatever there is a punishment for it in Qur'an. In the book of God, whatever there is a punishment for any sin, then the major sin is the one that in Qur'an you can see verses are indicating there is a punishment for it. فَكَتَبَ الْكَبَائِرُ مَنْ اجْتَنَبَ مَا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ النَّارِ مَا وَعَدَ عَلَيْهِ النَّارِ مَا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ النَّارِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look, the hell punishment is waiting for you if you commit this sin. Okay? وَالسَّبْعُ الْمُوجِبَاتِ, the 7 which you have punishment for it in Qur'an. Number 1, قَتْلُ النَّفْسِ الْحَرَامِ, murdering innocent person. عُقُوقُ الْوَالِدَيْنِ, displeasing the parents to that point. وَأَكْلُ الرِّبَا, taking and consuming usury. وَالتَّعَرُّبْ بَعْدَ الْهِجْرَةِ. تعرب بعد الهجرة is something that I'm sure some of you might be familiar, might not. It means, ta'arrub means become Arab, Arabized. The historical context for Arabized is where people were immigrating to Medina, becoming Muslim, then going back to their tribes where they were not Muslim, therefore unable to perform their faith duties. Now, later, it became a title out of context. Now, whenever, if you go, you can perform your faith duties, that is ta'arrub ba'd al-hijrah, becoming Arab after the immigration. Some of the jurists still, they are told by one mujtahid, anyone who go to West, he commits ta'arrub ba'd al-hijrah, it's a great sin. Because they think you go somewhere, no way to perform your religious duties. Anyway, but the definition is you go somewhere unable to perform your religious duties. That is also is a major sin. وَقَذْفُ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ, okay, slandering the chaste woman. وَأَكْلُ مَالِ الْيَتِيمِ, consuming the wealth or the money of the orphans. وَالْفِرَارُ مِنَ الزَّحْفِ, also fleeing from just war or defending your country, or at that time, in the time of infallible, fleeing from a war which the infallible Imam is in charge. These are the 2 hadith about what are the major sins. Still, the question is very unsettled. The question is very unsettled because many people are not happy. Many people say, we don't have even minor. See, all the major, but it doesn't fit with Quran, as I said. That is why we have at least 7 different theories about what are the major sins. Okay? One of them which I need to say it here, if you insist and repeat minor sins, so repetition and insisting on minor sins itself is a major sin. Okay? Because we have a hadith, لا كبيرة مع الاستغفار ولا صغيرة مع التكرار. If you do tawbah and istighfar is not major anymore, it's been waived. But if you insist on little ones, the little ones are not little anymore because the insistence itself is a major sin. So, what we need to do with the major sin, you need to specifically, in addition to that general obligation of tawbah every day, every time, every day, for each major sin, you have to specifically do tawbah. And tawbah, what, as we explained last night, how to do now, what to do in future, what to do in regard to the past. Because every tawbah with the sin involves three stages. Do something, a remedial action for the past, a firm decision for the future, and the state of mind for now, the regret. Okay, for example, if it is pray, what to do, if it's fasting, what to do, if money, what to do, and the other thing. Now, having said that, we are involved with one of the most controversial discussion in Shia theology, in Islamic theology, in Islamic history. What is the status of people who commit major sin in regard to their faith? That is one of the first question which is the cause for division among Muslims. One of the first. Possibly either the first or, according to some, the second after the Imamah. But to my understanding, possibly even this one, I'm not sure. Second, possibly. If you think of Saqifa as the beginning of the division, then that is the second. Divided Muslim in two different categories. The first group emerged known as a Murji'ah. Murji'ah, from the Arabic word irja'. Irja' means to postpone. They were the first liberal Muslim, extremely liberal. In what sense now the fashion among the youth and the Western, don't judge people, don't judge, no judgment, no judgment. The Murji'ah, they say no judgment. If someone said Shahadatain, that's enough. Leave it to God. You can't judge. You can't say if it is saved or he goes to hell or to Jannah. It's not your business. You don't interfere with God's business. This is God to decide what will happen in the thereafter to him. He might go to Jannah. We don't know. We have no knowledge of the God's decision. So, as soon as someone confess the faith, that's it for us. So action, theoretically, that's a theoretical argument. Theoretically, action has nothing to do with faith. Faith is a state of mind and heart. Action is a, product of the different part of the body. And God is concerned with faith. We cannot judge people according to their action. That is the thought of Murji'ah. Murji'ah were one of the earliest group among the Muslim. Shia were accused to be Murji'ah, by the way, once. That is why we have lots of hadith against Murji'ah. Imam said, we are not the Murji'ah, God cursed them. This is not our talk, we don't say such a thing. And Shia start to say Murji'ah actually created by the caliphs, because many of these caliphs were, unethical, doing all the things. So they wanted a theological backing. They started, don't judge Yazid, don't judge Muawiyah, don't judge Harun. That is up to God to decide. As soon as he said the kalama, that is enough, he's got the faith. But I don't agree with it because historically it seems to be one of the biggest murja of the time was Abu Hanifa himself. Abu Hanifa, in my research, seems to be most probably was murja'i. And we know Abu Hanifa was imprisoned by the Caliph and he was tortured them. And most probably he was killed out of that torture. And he was supporting Hassani's revolution against the Caliph. So considering Abu Hanifa to be one of the murja'a, it doesn't fit to say murja'a were supporter of the Caliph anyway. But anyway, this is the first murja'a. When you have such a liberal action, what do you expect? An extreme reaction. And what was the extreme reaction? Khawarij. Khawarij started to say, not only we have judgment, we have harsh judgment. Anyone who commits major sin, he's kafir. He's not Muslim anymore. Murtakib al-kaba'ir, laysa bi-Muslim. Someone who commits the big sins, he's not Muslim anymore. That was the Khawarij. I'm giving you the historical line to make sense to you what's going on. Then you have the extreme on the one hand, extreme in the other hand. Now you're expecting the middle theory comes. Mu'tazila came in. He said neither Murji'a nor Khawarij, something in between. And they created one of their fundamentals of their faith, manzilun bayna al-manzilayn, or manzalatun bayna al-manzilatayn, stage in between. In what? They said he is not kafir, but he's fasiq, meaning he's unjust and unfair and sinner. And what about day after? They say there will be punishment for sure. And don't take this for sure. Don't take it for granted. It's a difficult theological judgment. You are judging God, in fact. When you see someone will be punished for sure, it's a must. So who is responsible for this must? God. They say if he does not do the tawbah, he will be punished for sure. Then Asha'ira came in reaction to Mu'tazila and saying, no, come on, who we are to say God will punish him for sure? We don't know, he might not punish, he might forgive. Their Shia's position is in this is very similar to Asha'ira, that the sinner, he did a bad thing. If he does the tawbah, he will be forgiven for sure. But the Asha'ira, again, they don't believe in this for sure. They say, even if you do tawbah, we don't know. We cannot oblige God for anything because they don't believe God is just anyway. This justice is very adliya, mu'tazila thought. For Shia, if someone does a pure, sincere tawbah, God cannot punish him. And Ash'ari, they don't like this cannot, must not. They say cannot, must not is for human being. We can't say anything against, done the time, huh? Oh, sorry, then the final little thing, the jurisprudential thing about someone who commits major sin. The jurists say if he has not done the tawbah, so he is fasiq, therefore you cannot pray behind him, you cannot accept his testimony unless he does the tawbah. Okay. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه.
We have a few minutes for questions, if there are any questions from either side.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ustad, how did Sunni theology understand the concept of shirk within being sin and sin not being punishable necessarily with hell?
You mean Ash'ari theology? Because
Yeah,
Mu'tazila also Sunnis. In Ash'ari theology, what they have problem with is the Mu'tazili concept of justice. According to Mu'tazili concept of justice, in fact, you create some must for God. Because he is just, so he must be as such. Because he is just, if someone did the tawbah, so he is like innocent, then there would be no room for punishment. Ash'ari, they have this problem with this conclusion. Because he did the tawbah, so he is not subject of punishment anyway. Otherwise, why should it be in contradiction with Tawheed? Because actually, in fact, is bit, at least in a surface, the Ash'ari theology seems to be more closer to Tawheed in a way that is closer to omnipotency. God does whatever he wants to do.
In that sense, God can forgive shirk? Because it is one of the kabair, according to Ash'ari Sunni scholars.
Yes. He can forgive shirk. He can. You cannot say he cannot. As soon as you say he cannot, that is their theological problem. As soon as you say he cannot, then he is not omnipotent anymore. You know, with the al-qudratul mutlaqa, his omnipotence. Whatever he wish, he can do. Yes, that was a good example. Thank you for asking it.
So, Sheikh, what about apostasy? Is it for God to judge or man to judge?
It goes under the kufr, shirk and kufr, huh? In one of the hadith, actually, we have very authentic hadith by Shia that when Imam listing is got kufr, in addition to shirk, he has the kufr. And he doesn't have the salat in the list. He doesn't have the pray in the list. And the person is asking Imam, why you didn't mention the salat in the list? Imam telling him, did I mention the kufr? Salat is something, if you don't do it, you go to the, toward the kufr. So in some of the hadith, kufr it is. But generally, we think shirk includes kufr. Because when you say, I don't believe in... The shirk is very sophisticated. The notion of shirk in Islam is very sophisticated. For example, you say, I don't believe in God. Then what is the cause for creation? What is the cause for this? You are associating things with other factors rather than God. You say Big Bang, for example. I don't know. The cause is this. The cause... All the materialists, they don't associate it with God, but they are looking for material cause, and that is the shirk. So any kufr somehow could be associated with shirk.
The question is this kind of shirk punishable by man or by God?
Punishable by man. I didn't have the time, and Maghdad was showing me question and answer, because we have which one is punishable in this world, which are not. The whole theory, according to one theory in Imamiyya, no one has the authority to punish anyone for these things. But according to another theory, yes. So it goes to the Walayat al-Faqih, business and political Islam, and how you go toward political Islam. I don't know. Possibly tomorrow night we go for this, or we change the subject of Tawbah. I don't know.
Fine.
Sisters, I can see hand of sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
You said that a person who has committed a major sin but not sought forgiveness cannot have their testimony taken and given any credit. And
that's jurisprudential one, yeah.
And they cannot lead the prayer.
Yeah.
But given that in Islamic jurisprudence you require a number of witnesses to prove that someone has sinned, is it the case that unless you're sinning publicly to a significant extent, it's essentially impossible to prove that someone is unfit to give testimony or lead the prayer?
Yeah, that's the interesting question. That's a very interesting question, that how do we know if he's a sinner or not? Sometimes you know personally. Anyway, you know the person. In person, you've seen he has committed, and and he's not the man or lady who does the istighfar, who does the tawbah. But if you don't know, majority of jurists to say you have to take the, when to say inshallah is good. To say we don't know and we give the let me say advantage of innocent to him. So he's innocent, inshallah.
But in the instance where someone has, for example, personal knowledge of someone's actions, can a person choose to then act on the knowledge they have?
Yes.
Or should they
share it
give
with
them
others?
the best? Well, that would not be
They
my
can't
instinct.
share it with others.
Sure, of course, that would not be Islamic. But should they choose to act on the knowledge they have and not take their testimony or pray behind them? Or should they give them the benefit of the doubt?
No. If
God
they
be the
know,
judge?
benefit of the doubt is where you don't have the knowledge. Benefit of the doubt is where you don't have the knowledge. As soon as you have the knowledge, there is no room for benefit of the doubt anymore. So benefit of the doubt is where, I don't know, Seyed Fatemi is leading the Salaat. I don't know him very well, but he looks, I haven't seen anything of him. So inshallah is good. That's benefit of the doubt. But if you know, you can't give it benefit of the doubt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Seyed
Assalamu
Fatemi.
alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Can you help me just understand shirk a bit more? Because it's like I'm a bit confused on the concept. I mean, as I understand it, when I read the Qur'an, when the Qur'an speaks to the mushrikun, when they ask them, who created the heavens and the earth, they say Allah. They knew Allah, they knew. So then when they ask them, why do you worship these things? They say, I think the ayah, لِيُقَرِّبُونَ
إلى الله
zulfa. So it's a wasila. So I'm struggling to understand how that is kind of different from certain practices within
Shia
our sect, and whether it's shirk or not.
Or not only our sect, for example.
Or any other sect that uses other forms as a wasila to get closer to God.
That is the whole fight of Salafis with the Shia anyway. It's about Shafa'ah. But it's not only with the Shia, by the way. Most or many of the Ash'ari, they believe in Shafa'ah. Al-Ghazali is someone who himself believes in Shafa'ah. Okay, they believe that Rasulullah, because there is an authentic hadith from Rasulullah, I do Shafa'ah of my ummah in day of judgment. The interception, They call it interception, intercession. Well, whether it is ethical or not, that is a different question, and the Kant's own, argument against, that was against the Christian version of intercession. Okay? But Tawheed is where, at least within the Shia theology and Ash'ari theology, I'm talking about Ash'ari, not the Ibn Taymiyyah onward, Ash'ari and Shia theology. Tawheed is where you do not give the original, let me say, authority to any other entity but God. In the wasila, at the end of the day, you see, he has this privilege. He's got the privilege, but with bi'idhnillah. Ultimately, you connected to God. Ultimately, you see is God, is not him or her who does the shafa'ah, who act as a wasila. That's the thing. So this is the position of Shia and Ash'ari both. When it comes, they are not convinced with that, obviously, because of this verse that mushrikeen, they did have the same thing. But one can say some of them were not mushrikeen. We don't know if they were mushrikeen. If they thought they are not God, only pure wasila, why we should consider them mushrikeen? Unless you say, not any wasila is permissible. How you can take stone as a wasila or wood as a wasila, because this were either stone or wood. So it was type of super unacceptable, practice. Otherwise, if he's a divine entity, is a prophet or messenger, then it would be acceptable wasila, because God told us in Qur'an that they can act as a wasila.
Thank you very much. I know there are other questions and people want to follow up, and inshallah, but unfortunately we've run out of time. If people do have questions, Seyed Fatemi is still around after prayers, and also tomorrow, inshallah, he'll be here, so you can ask questions then. We're very fortunate to have someone who can answer these questions, so please make use of him, inshallah. We'll end there and we'll continue with the rest of the program. Salaat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil fajr.
We're now going to move on to the video, the next part of the program. And before we start the video, just a reminder that there are some graphic scenes in this video, which you should be aware of.
Abbas enters within the tents. What does he find? That little children are dying of thirst. They are crying out for water, and they are rubbing the water skins upon their bellies in order for the coolness of the water skin to relieve them of their thirst. Abbas takes a water skin and says, "Oh children, fear not. I shall bring back some water for you." Abbas comes out of the tents and says, "Oh Hussein, allow me to fetch some water for these thirsty, dying children." Hussein looks at Abbas, knowing that he will not see his Abbas again. Ali ibn Abi Talib in Nahj al-Balagha gives an eloquent khutbah. Let the standard bearer be the best amongst you, the strongest, the bravest, the one with most resolve. For when the standard falls, so does the morale of the army. So long as the standard stands, the army stands. Look at the stature of this man. He was like a lofty mountain, and his heart was like a momentous wave. He was a champion swordsman, a fearless warrior, and he fearlessly advanced into the ranks of the enemy amidst the showering arrows and the striking swords and spears. Abbas makes way. Enters within the Euphrates. He fills the water skin. Comes out of the Al-Qamah. The enemies know they cannot face this Abbas. There are trees around. Some of them hide behind the trees. As Abbas comes out of the Al-Qamah, Abbas engages with his enemies. His right arm is cut, and instead of the pain that he feels, he cries out, "By Allah, even if you were to cut my right arm, I shall never cease to defend my deen and my Imam. His left arm is struck, and he cries out, "My soul, do not fear the kuffar, and take the glad tidings of the Jabbar." It is said that when Abbas took birth, Ali ibn Abi Talib carried him in his hands and began to weep and kiss his arms. They say, "Oh Ali, why do you weep at the birth of a child? Rejoice." He said, "By Allah, he will have them cut in the love of Hussein." The historians narrate that Shimr did not smile, but when he heard the jubilant cries arising from Alqama, he asked, "What has happened?" Has been put to death. He broke into a smile. He said, "Now Hussein will not save himself. Now Hussein will die or will submit to Ibn Ziyad." Hussein reaches Abbas, sits next to Abbas. He says, "Oh Abbas, oh my brother." Hussein tries to lift Abbas. Abbas said, "Oh brother, what is it that you're trying to do?" "Abbas, I must take you back to the tents." He said, "Oh Hussein, I beseech you for Allah, do not take me back. I had promised your Sakina water. I failed her, and if Zainab sees me in this state, her morale will break." Abbas gave a cry and lost his life. Hussein cries out, "Now my back is broken. Now my means have been severed." Sakina cries out, "Oh father, do you have any news of my uncle Abbas? He lies slain on the banks of the Euphrates, O child." It cut the child's neck from ear to the ear. Hussein loses his senses and ability to reason. As the warm blood oozes from the severed neck of Asghar and falls into the palm of Hussein, the warmth of Asghar's innocent blood brings Hussein back to reality. He calls out, "Oh Lord!" He cups the blood and applies it upon his beard. And he says, "Oh child, like this shall we be raised in front of your grandfather and my father."
But it was time.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and
a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. On Ashura, the family of Hussein caused the earth to shake. On Ashura, the family of Hussein caused the earth to shake. It heard the swords clash across the field, cries of Al-Tash. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Battle over, all the men had gone, no one there to defend. Battle over, all the men had gone, no one there to defend. The veils were snatched, jewelry pulled from his, Sakina's cry so pure. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Paraded through the streets and markets to Kufa and Sham. Paraded through the streets and markets to Kufa and Sham. O people, did you not know them? They are of Rasul. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. The court in Sham, the palace of Yazid, tied in chains in pain. The court in Sham, the palace of Yazid, tied in chains in pain. Zainab stood defending Islam for a soul so brave. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. The tragedy of the martyrs will live in our hearts. The tragedy of the martyrs will live in our hearts. The lessons from those in Karbala, examples for us all. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. So now we stand grieving and mourning to show you Zainab. So now we stand grieving and mourning to show you Zainab, the sacrifice of Imam Hussein. We will never forget. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Just a quick reminder that wudu facilities are in the other hall from the ladies' side and over here.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله وسلم.